In this video tutorial, we are going to talk about how to utilize taking the average of tools and also how to use filters in your project. This is geared towards our pop art project, but it has the techniques that you can utilize for other assignments. So first thing I need to do is I need to paste in an image. I'm going to use Mark Zuckerberg here to create the stuff I want. I'm going to also use the color replacement tool and show you guys how to use that. So for the pop art project and any project, when you use an image, you usually want to get rid of some of the content around the outside. So that way you're kind of creating your own type of artwork. If you look at me using the magic wand here, part of his hair, since it was dark like the background image, was included in the selection. So I'm just going to hold Alt and get rid of or add to the selection of part of this hair. So I want to keep that in there. And then I'm just going to push delete on my keyboard and it'll delete out that whole background. So I'll zoom back out just a little bit. Now when we have the image, in order to change the color of the area, I'm going to deselect this. I'm just going to switch over where it's under your brush tool and pencil tool. You'll see what's called a color replacement. So we're going to take Mark Zuckerberg here and I'm going to select green. So whatever color you have selected in the color swatch will be the color it'll replace. So now when I click and drag, you'll notice that it keeps all the values. So it keeps the light and dark values of the shading of his face. It keeps facial features like what's in the nose and in the ears. If an area is white, it will keep it white. If an area is black, it will keep it black. So it basically will change values on the different colors that you have. I'm going to go ahead and try to get most of this area here filled in. You may need to zoom into areas to kind of make sure that you get areas changed. I'm also going to make the lips a different color here. So I'm going to try and avoid replacing it with green. Now, when I get to the lips, one thing I'm going to want to do is I'm probably going to want to zoom into the area because now that I have this green area around the outside, I don't want to change any of that area to purple. You'll notice here too when I zoom in how you kind of miss a few spots. So it's possible you may need to zoom in to make sure that you get all the areas color replaced. Now I'm going to take my lasso tool. And you can either use lasso or polygon lasso. I'm just going to use my regular lasso and trace around this area. And I can add or subtract again. So it looks like I got part of this area here I need to subtract out. And part of an area here I might want to add back in. So now that I have this area selected, when I switch to a purple, it will only color replace inside that designated area. So that way I don't have to worry about it going outside and replacing my green. You'll notice a little spot on the bottom. It looks like I need to add a little bit with my selection tool. So use that color replacement again. Now another thing I can do is you'll notice there's some green parts. If I just go up to select an inverse and I go back to my green value that I had, I can now kind of tidy up and make sure that those colors meet and I don't have any of the skin color underneath it. So now I've created that image. I'd want to kind of fix some of those areas as well. But I've created an image here where I have the green face and the purple lips. So that's using the color replacement tool. It's found under the brush. Next, I'm going to talk about how to use the taking average tool. Because in a pop art project, the colors are separated out. So here you can kind of see there's gradations and blending. So I'm going to show a couple different ways. The first one is just to take the magic wand and select an area. And I may want to change my tolerance down a little bit because that selected quite a large area of his face. So I may want to change it so it doesn't select quite as much. Let's try this area first here. So you'll notice how it kind of selects different values within 20 pixel range. Now I'm going to go up to I'm going to go to filter and then blur. You'll see there's an option called average. What that'll do is that'll take an average of all the colors that I have selected, and it will turn them all into the same value. So now when I click different areas to select it, I can go to go to filter again, blur, average. One thing that's nice is that when you use the filter gallery, the last filter you use will always be on top, so you don't have to keep clicking and moving over. You can just click on this top one. I'm going to go ahead and select a few different areas. So I'm going to go to filter again, average. It also gives you the shortcut key, Alt-Control-F. So I'm going to utilize that function as well when I click these other ones. So that shortcut again was Alt-Control-F. So Alt-Control-F. So I'm going to click these areas and push Alt-Control-F to fill them in to get the average of those colors. Now when I deselect it, you can notice how I'm getting that pop art feel. Looks like I didn't do the average on this one yet, so Alt-Control-F. So now I'm getting more of a solid color and a hard edge line in between each one. So another option that you can do is if you don't want to use the magic wand, see how it's kind of more of a area here that is filled in. I'm going to go ahead and paste another image of Mark Zuckerberg here. Instead of color replacing, though, I'm just going to show you the option of using the lasso tool to select an area. So if you want to kind of create more of a hard edge, I like the polygon lasso tool. It's because I can make straight lines and just kind of click. And I'm going to manually now select the areas I want to take the average of. So now if I Control Alt and F, it'll take the average of that area that I selected. Now if you look here, you can kind of see this shade of his forehead is a little bit lighter than the first one I did, but it's a little bit darker than this area over to the right. So Alt-Control-F again. You can continue to do that. And this way you have a little bit more control on what areas you're shading and blending. When you use the magic wand, you can obviously add and subtract from areas as well to get your desired technique. So I'm just going to do a couple more here so you can kind of see what the forehead looks like. I want to make sure I preserve my eyebrows and keep them a little bit darker. And I can go back and do those at a later time. One last one here. This area here should appear now when I take the average. It should appear a little bit darker than the last one I just did, which it does. So now I have that same kind of filtering technique, but it does look different than this one because this one's more not kind of a straight edge because I use that magic wand to select the areas. Last thing I want to show you is using filter galleries. So I'm going to go ahead and stay selected on here. So I'm going to go into filter again, but now instead of going to blur and average, I'm going to click on the filter gallery. And what the filter gallery will do is I need to move this over so you can see his face. You'll notice how the filter gallery gives me different types of folders that I can change. So I can click on different things. So here's a cutout, kind of gives you that feel that the colors are separated. Dry brush. So it basically applies a filter over the top. Some of them are going to work well for some pictures and some will not. Here's it's called plastic wrap. So it almost looks like you have saran wrap over the top of it. Palette knife. Here's a good one, paint daubs. It's one that's you can use for that. Poster edges. It kind of creates a little outline around the edges. You can go ahead and kind of test out some of these filters. Once you want the filter or select the filter you want, just click apply. And you'll notice how now it kind of really gives that pop art feel to it. So that's a little tutorial on how to use the color replacement tool. Again, that was found in the toothbrush toolbox there, or the brush tool, not the toothbrush, the brush one. And then the color replacement tool. We also talked about selecting an area and going to filter, blur, and taking the average of the colors to get a flat image, flat color with no gradations. Then we also went into the filter gallery where you're able to go in and select different types of filters that you can apply to that layer.